Cheers and salutations, everybody. My name is Kit. This is Americans Learn, and I don't know if this is a true story or not, and I would like some feedback from you, my audience, but this was suggested to us. And who are we to say no? Because you, our viewing audience, make this channel grow. And for that, I'm eternally grateful and thankful to have all you beautiful people here supporting our channel. When Roman soldiers became Chinese warriors, the incredible story of the Lost Legion. You know, nothing should surprise us. I mean, let's face it. We are capable of great feats of transportation and travel now because we have technology. And I think for a lot of us, we look back at the ancients and think, well, they can never do it. Well, you know, determined mind, determined soul, they could do whatever. And look, history, I think, has shown us that we should never underestimate what the ancients have done. So, Rome's lost sons, the journey to the Middle Kingdom. So, we're going to get our learn on. Please support the original content creator. This is from Thrilling True Stories. So, I expect all of you to do the right thing and support the original content creator. Because it's the right thing to do. It's a one thing to do. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Don't be mean. And be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Americans Learn. That way all of you are made aware when we upload new content upon our YouTube channel. So let's get our learn on and find out about, I guess, the Lost Legion in 3, 2, and an uno.
Rome's Lost Sons, The Journey to the Middle Kingdom. In the annals of history, few tales are as extraordinary as the journey of Rome's lost sons, an elite force of legionaries who marched east after the catastrophic Battle of Carrhae, never to return to the Eternal City. Their path would take them not just across the known world, but beyond it, to the edges of the mysterious Middle Kingdom, where they would forge an unlikely destiny as China's first European warriors. Their story, preserved in fragments of ancient texts, scattered artifacts, and the very DNA of their descendants, represents one of history's most remarkable acts of cultural transformation. The
True Rome lives! I kid.
evidence of their incredible odyssey lies scattered across the steppes and deserts of Asia. Roman-style fortifications in the heart of China's Gansu province, ancient Chinese chronicles describing tall, light-eyed warriors who fought with unfamiliar tactics, and a town called Lykian, where residents still bear subtle traces of European ancestry. This is not just a story of lost soldiers, but a testament to human adaptability, survival, and the profound ways in which East and West have intertwined throughout history, long before the modern era dreamed of globalization. The aftermath of Carrhae, Roman soldiers in Parthian service. The desert winds howled across the Parthian plains as 10,000 Roman soldiers trudged eastward in defeat.
I know this is AI art, but come on. Like, they're doing the eagle, and, like, some of the soldiers have, like, eagles on their backs. Okay.
Their once proud eagles now captured trophies of war. These men, survivors of Marcus Licinius Crassus's catastrophic campaign at Carrhae, had been given a choice that was hardly a choice at all: death or service to their conquerors. The Parthians, masterful strategists, saw an opportunity in these battle-hardened legionaries. Rather than waste such valuable military expertise, they deployed their Roman captives to the empire's most volatile frontier, the eastern borderlands, where nomadic raiders threatened trade routes and settlements alike. The Romans' initial journey was a testament to their legendary discipline. They marched through lands Alexander himself had conquered, past the shores of the Caspian Sea, and into territories that existed only in legends back in Rome. Chinese diplomatic records from 36 BCE first mention these strange warriors, describing them as extraordinarily tall men who arranged themselves in unusual fish-scale formations. While Parthian soldiers typically fought as mounted archers, these newcomers stood their ground in tight infantry formations that were unmistakably Roman. In the oasis towns of Central Asia, these legionaries encountered a world that defied everything they knew.
Hmm. The AI art seems to have like some sort of power line there in the background. I'm not nitpicking here, just noticing.
Merchants spoke of an empire to the east that dwarfed even mighty Rome, the Han Dynasty, a land of silk, paper, and sophisticated bureaucracy. Local records suggest the Romans quickly proved their worth as frontier guards, their disciplined tactics providing an effective counter to raids from the Xiongnu Confederation. The Parthians had placed them here as a military necessity, but in doing so, they had inadvertently created a living bridge between the world's two greatest empires. As the years passed, these soldiers began to settle into their new lives. They married local women, learned regional languages, and adapted their military techniques to suit the terrain and enemies they faced. Yet they never completely abandoned their Roman identity. Archaeological evidence from this period shows an unusual fusion of Roman and Central Asian military equipment. Mediterranean-style bronze fittings appeared on local weapons, while distinctly Roman construction techniques were used to build frontier fortifications. The most compelling testament to their presence comes from a Chinese military manual dated to this period, which describes in detail a defensive formation that mirrors the Roman testudo or tortoise formation. The manual's author notes with admiration how these Western troops could make themselves as impenetrable as a mountain, yet move with the speed of the wind. This tactical innovation would later influence Chinese military doctrine for centuries to come, though its Roman origins would be largely forgotten. For these men, there would be no triumphant return to the Seven Hills of Rome. Their destiny lay in the East, where they would forge a legacy far different from anything they could have imagined as they set out under Crassus's command. Their story was about to intersect with one of the most powerful empires the world had ever seen, and in doing so, they would help shape the course of both Eastern and Western military history. The Crossroads of Empire, Zhelaizhai's strategic legacy.
Okay. All right. I'm curious. I'm going to have to do, listen, hey, I'm going to have to do my own research just to find out how authentic some of this is, because this, I mean, again, listen, I will be more than happy to see any other videos regarding this, so please, audience, let me know, because, wow, Rome lives on.
In the shadow of the Kilian Mountains, where the Hexi corridor narrows to a strategic choke point, lies the ancient town of Zhelaizhai. Today, it's a modest settlement in Gansu province, but 2,000 years ago, it stood as a remarkable testament to the fusion of East and West. Here, according to Han Dynasty military records, a group of foreign warriors established a settlement that would become a crucial defensive position along China's northwestern frontier. The archaeological evidence at Zhelaizhai tells a compelling story. The town's fortifications, unlike typical Han Dynasty defensive works, bear the unmistakable hallmarks of Roman military engineering. The walls follow the precise angles and proportions favored by Roman architects, while the foundations utilize a distinctive cement-like material that was unknown in China at the time. Most telling are the watchtowers, positioned at intervals that exactly match the standard Roman defensive spacing of 165 feet, a measurement that would have been unfamiliar to Chinese engineers who used the distinctly different Chiai system of measurement. Chinese chronicles from the period describe the arrival of these tall men with deep-set eyes who transformed the frontier defenses. A military report from 47 BCE notes how these foreign soldiers introduced new metalworking techniques, forging stronger armor that could withstand the powerful composite bows of the Xiongnu raiders. The report marvels at their ability to create bronze fittings of exceptional durability, using metallurgical methods that would not become common in China for another century. The settlement's location was no accident. Zhelaizhai sat at a crucial junction where the Silk Road split into its northern and southern routes. From this vantage point, the Roman-trained garrison could monitor trade caravans, intercept raiders, and control access to some of the most valuable commercial routes in the ancient world. Chinese records indicate that the town quickly became known for its unique military prowess, with neighboring settlements requesting training in the foreign fighting techniques that had proven so effective against nomadic raiders. But perhaps the most fascinating evidence comes from the town's cemetery. Here, archaeologists have uncovered burial practices that blend Roman and Chinese traditions. Bodies were found with both Chinese burial goods and Roman-style grave markers.
I'm going to nitpick here. I would like to see actual photos instead of 3D animation or AI art. I mean, after this video, I'm going to check it out for myself because, look, one of the rules here is like, hey, we get videos or suggestions from you, our audience, and a lot of this is brand new to me. So, yeah, and by the way, I know I'm doing an Americans Learn series on Hannibal, and I'm familiar with the Punic War. I am unfamiliar with this, but I'm going to make you this promise. If someone else gives me another video that's similar to this, but maybe with more, actual showing of artifacts, then done deal. But I'm going to do my own due diligence and research, as should all of you as well.
Some tombs contained Chinese bronze mirrors alongside Mediterranean-style glass beads, a tangible testament to the cultural fusion taking place in this remote outpost. The grave of one prominent warrior, dated to around 10 BCE, contained a Chinese sword crafted using Roman metallurgical techniques, its bronze fittings bearing decorations that combined classical Western motifs with Chinese designs. In the markets of Zhelaizhai, Roman military expertise became a valuable commodity. Chinese imperial records mention local lords hiring these foreign warriors as military advisors, their knowledge spreading gradually through the Han military establishment. The fish scale formation, clearly adapted from the Roman testudo, began appearing in Chinese military manuals, described as an invincible technique for defending against cavalry raids. This tactical innovation would prove crucial in the ongoing struggle against the nomadic peoples of the steppes. As trade along the Silk Road intensified, Zhelaizhai grew from a military outpost into a thriving commercial center. Its unique position as a meeting point between Roman military expertise and Chinese administrative efficiency made it an invaluable asset to the Han Empire. The descendants of those original Roman soldiers had found their place in this new world, their legacy written not just in stone and bronze, but in the very fabric of Chinese military tradition.
Okay. Sounds interesting. I mean, the thing is, there was, I believe, a settlement that Alexander the Great created in a further region in China. So, I mean, there was a Greek city-state that still held on to the legacy of Alexander the Great. The name, I'm forgetting. If there's an expert that knows the name of it, yeah, I remember seeing something equivalent to it in a Kings and Generals video. So, would it surprise me that there were Roman soldiers there and an infusion of two great empires? No, it wouldn't. But and an inquiring mind wants to know more. That's where you, the audience, comes in.
Li Jing's warriors, a fusion of East and West. The name Li Jing first appears in Han records around 35 BCE, marking a pivotal moment in this remarkable tale of cultural fusion. Chinese chronicles describe him as a commander of extraordinary skill, leading a force of foreign warriors who fought with tactics previously unknown in the Middle Kingdom. While his original Roman name is lost,
either the guy knows how to turn his head backwards, or that's the AI art acting crazy. And it looks like Boba Fett.
to history, the chronicles paint a picture of a leader who masterfully blended Western military discipline with Eastern strategic philosophy. Under Li Jing's command, these Romano-Chinese forces achieved a series of stunning victories against the Qiongnu raiders who had long plagued the Han Empire's northwestern borders. Chinese military dispatches describe battles where Li Jing's troops would rapidly shift between tight defensive formations and aggressive offensive maneuvers, a style that combined the flexibility of Han cavalry tactics with the disciplined unit cohesion of Roman infantry. The records note with particular admiration how his soldiers could move as one body, yet strike from 10 directions, a description that perfectly captures the fusion of Roman unit tactics with Chinese strategic principles. Contemporary accounts from neighboring kingdoms speak of these unique warriors with a mixture of awe and apprehension. A diplomatic message from the Kingdom of Fergana describes them as men tall as trees who fight with the precision of architects. Their reputation grew so
As true Romans they should.
formidable that several Xiongnu clans reportedly refused to raid territories where Li Jing's forces were known to patrol. The Han court, recognizing the value of these troops, granted them increasingly important roles in frontier defense. Archaeological evidence from this period reveals how Li Jing's influence reshaped military architecture along the frontier. Fortress designs began incorporating features that were distinctly Roman: angular projections for crossfire, standardized watchtower spacing, and sophisticated drainage systems, while maintaining traditional Chinese architectural elements. The fusion was so successful that several of these hybrid fortifications remained in active use for over 4 centuries. The most fascinating aspects of Li Jing's legacy appear in the personal accounts recorded by his Chinese contemporaries. A court scribe named Wei Xian described visiting Li Jing's compound, noting with curiosity how the commander maintained certain Roman military traditions while fully embracing his role as a Han military leader. Wei observed the strange sight of soldiers performing Roman-style drilling exercises while chanting in Chinese, and described elaborate ceremonies that combined Roman military honors with Chinese court ritual. By the time Li Jing's
And not to nitpick, because look, it's an interesting, engaging story, but what kind of traditions? What kind of formations? Did they use any kind of Roman religious texts or anything of that nature that would seem a little bit out of place? I would have liked to have known that, but maybe we're still halfway through the video, so we might learn more.
direct military career ended, his influence had spread far beyond his original command. His tactical innovations were studied and adopted by Han generals across the empire, while his successful integration of Roman and Chinese military cultures became a model for incorporating foreign expertise into Chinese warfare. His legacy would continue through his descendants, who maintained prominent positions in the Han military establishment for generations, their unique heritage reflected in both their fighting techniques and their physical appearance. Perhaps most remarkably, Li Jing and his warriors demonstrated how military excellence could transcend cultural boundaries. In their hands, the precision of Roman infantry tactics and the sophistication of Han's strategic thinking weren't contradictions to be resolved, but complementary strengths to be combined. Their success proved that military innovation often flourishes at the intersection of different martial traditions, a lesson that would be repeatedly demonstrated throughout history. The DNA Trail, unraveling the mystery of Lycian Village.
Now we're getting somewhere.
In the sun-baked soil of modern Gansu province, science has begun to unravel one of history's most intriguing mysteries. When geneticists first arrived in Lycian Village in the early 2000s, they encountered faces that seemed to tell an impossible story, residents with distinctly European features living in the heart of China. Their genetic investigation would spark a scientific quest that would add a fascinating new dimension to the tale of the Lost Legion. Modern DNA analysis has revealed a compelling genetic signature among certain populations in the Gansu corridor. Studies conducted by Chinese geneticists identified markers typically associated with Mediterranean ancestry, appearing at frequencies significantly higher than in surrounding regions. These genetic echoes, while diluted by 2 millennia of intermarriage, tell a story of ancient migration that aligns remarkably well with historical records of Roman presence in the region. The most striking genetic evidence comes from specific Y chromosome haplogroups, genetic markers passed down through the male line. Several families in the region carry haplogroup signatures that are rare in East Asia, but common in the Mediterranean basin. This pattern suggests a small but significant influx of Western male ancestors during the Han Dynasty period, precisely when historical records indicate the arrival of Roman soldiers. Physical anthropologists studying ancient remains from the region have identified skeletal characteristics that add another layer to the story. Burial sites dated to the Han Dynasty.
Come on, AI art. No skeleton's going to be standing up like that.
Dynasty period contain remains showing a mixture of European and Asian features, longer limb proportions, larger cranial vaults.
I like how the skeleton's just standing up there. Be like, hey, what's going on here? Why are you digging around here?
And dental characteristics more commonly associated with Western populations. These findings align with Chinese historical descriptions of the tall, deep-eyed warriors who served along the frontier. Perhaps most fascinating are the inherited genetic conditions found in some local families. Medical researchers have identified several rare genetic variants typically associated with Mediterranean populations, including specific blood type distributions that stand out from the surrounding regions. These genetic markers serve as molecular breadcrumbs, tracing a path back through time to an ancient migration from the West. Advanced DNA sequencing techniques have allowed scientists to estimate when this genetic admixture occurred. The patterns of genetic variation suggest an influx of Western DNA approximately 2,000 years ago, a time frame that correlates perfectly with the historical record of Roman soldiers entering the region. The genetic data indicates a relatively small founding population of male ancestors, consistent with historical accounts of a single legion's worth of soldiers settling in the area.
Looks like those Roman boys got a little busy in that region.
Yet this genetic detective story extends beyond mere ancestry. The DNA evidence reveals patterns of interaction and integration that mirror the historical narrative. The gradual diffusion of Western genetic markers throughout the local population tells a story of steady integration rather than isolation. Exactly what one would expect from the historical accounts of Roman soldiers marrying into local communities and establishing permanent settlements. In the end, the DNA trail provides something extraordinary, scientific confirmation of an almost legendary historical tale. Through the lens of modern genetics, we can see how a group of displaced Roman soldiers didn't just survive in ancient China, but contributed to the very genetic fabric of future generations, leaving a molecular signature that would endure for 2 millennia. Legacy of Two Empires: the fusion of Chinese and Greco-Roman art. When Han Dynasty artisans began crafting bronze figures in the 1st century BCE, something remarkable appeared in their work. The traditional flowing lines of Chinese sculptures suddenly incorporated elements of Western.
I know I'm nitpicking here again. Instead of AI art, look, and look, I have nothing against AI art. It's here to stay. It's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. I would prefer seeing the actual sculpture. So I'm going to leave my final thoughts at the end, but interesting. Fascinating. I would like to see examples, though.
Western classical realism, anatomical details and proportions that bore striking similarities to Greco-Roman statuary. In the frontier regions where Roman soldiers had settled, a unique.
Also, if that's the case, there must have been some artisans in that Roman legion that was eventually transferred and put in that area. So there must have been a couple of craftsmen and blacksmiths and artisans that were part of that legion, or either that were it was their trait before they went into the glorious service of Rome, and after all true Romans serve the Roman state.
Artistic style emerged that would influence Chinese art for generations to come. The military impact proved even more profound. Han tactical manuals from the period describe new formations that transformed Chinese warfare. The introduction of the Qitu, scalable square formation, marked a revolutionary departure from traditional Chinese cavalry-based tactics. This innovation allowed Han armies to counter the nomadic horsemen of the steppes with a level of effectiveness previously unknown. The formation's success led to its rapid adoption across the empire, fundamentally altering the balance of power along China's northern frontier. In architecture, the fusion of Roman and Chinese techniques produced innovations that would influence building practices for centuries. The discovery of Roman-style concrete fragments in Han-era structures reveals how Western engineering principles were adapted to Chinese construction methods. The resulting hybrid technology proved particularly valuable in fortification construction, where Roman expertise in angular defensive design merged with Chinese masonry techniques to create more resilient structures. Trade along the Silk Road flourished in unexpected ways due to this cultural fusion. Merchants' records from the period describe how the Roman settlers' knowledge of Mediterranean goods helped establish new trading patterns. Their familiarity with Western products, from glass to certain metallurgical techniques, created new markets and trading opportunities. Chinese trade missions to Central Asia began carrying goods specifically selected to appeal to Western tastes, while Roman knowledge of Mediterranean trade networks helped establish more direct commercial links. The cultural exchange extended into unexpected areas. Agricultural records from the period show the introduction of new irrigation techniques in the Gansu region, combining Roman engineering with Chinese farming practices. The resulting systems proved so effective that similar designs spread throughout the empire's arid western regions. These agricultural innovations helped transform parts of the Hexi corridor into productive farmland, supporting larger populations and strengthening China's presence along its western frontier. The linguistic impact of this cultural fusion appears in surviving documents from the period. Chinese military terminology began incorporating loanwords and concepts from Latin, particularly in technical descriptions of formations and fortifications. While these terms were progressively Sinicized, their foreign origins remain detectable to linguistic scholars, providing another thread of evidence for this remarkable cultural exchange. But perhaps the most enduring legacy lay in how this fusion demonstrated the potential for cross-cultural innovation. The success of combining Roman military expertise with Chinese administrative efficiency created a model for cultural integration that influenced Chinese policies toward foreign expertise for generations. The Han Dynasty's willingness to incorporate and adapt foreign knowledge, demonstrated so effectively in this case, became a recurring theme in Chinese history, influencing everything from Tang Dynasty military reforms to Song Dynasty technological innovations. In the end, what began as a quirk of fate, the forced migration of defeated Roman soldiers, evolved into one of history's most fascinating examples of cultural synthesis. These displaced legionaries didn't just survive in their new home. They catalyzed innovations that would influence Chinese civilization for centuries to come, leaving an indelible mark on both military and civilian life in the Middle Kingdom. Eagles in the East, unveiling cross-cultural artifacts. In the cool halls of the Gansu Provincial
I would prefer it not to be AI art, but at the actual museum.
Behind glass cases that reflect centuries of history, lie artifacts that continue to reshape our understanding of this remarkable story. A bronze sword bearing both Chinese characters and marks of Roman craftsmanship. a fragment of pottery decorated with Mediterranean motifs, but shaped by Chinese hands. Each new discovery adds another piece to a puzzle that spans continents and millennia. Recent archaeological excavations have unearthed stunning new evidence of this cultural fusion. In 2018, ground-penetrating radar revealed the foundations of a previously unknown settlement near Yongchang, its layout following the distinctive patterns of a Roman military camp, but incorporating Chinese architectural elements. The site has yielded a treasure trove of artifacts, coins minted in both empires, weapons that combine Western metallurgy with Eastern design, and personal items that tell intimate stories of cultural adaptation. The mystery of the Lost Legion continues to captivate modern imaginations, drawing researchers from diverse fields. Climatologists study how these Roman soldiers adapted their military techniques to the harsh conditions of the Gobi Desert. Metallurgists analyze ancient bronze artifacts, discovering sophisticated alloy combinations that suggest an exchange of technical knowledge between Roman and Chinese craftsmen. Linguists trace the evolution of military terminology, finding echoes of Latin in ancient Chinese tactical vocabulary. Yet perhaps the most powerful legacy lies not in artifacts or DNA, but in what this story reveals about human adaptability and cultural exchange. These Roman soldiers, thrust into an alien world, didn't just survive. They thrived, contributing to one of history's most remarkable examples of military and cultural fusion. Their story demonstrates how innovation often emerges at the intersection of different traditions, and how necessity can forge unexpected connections between distant civilizations. As the sun sets over the Gansu corridor today, casting long shadows across the ancient landscape, one can still sense echoes of this extraordinary tale. In the faces of local residents, in the ruins of ancient fortifications, and in the continuing discovery of artifacts that bridge East and West, the story of Rome's lost legion and their remarkable transformation continues to unfold. Their legacy serves as a testament to humanity's capacity for adaptation, innovation, and the creation of something new from the meeting of different worlds.
Okay. All right. Very interesting indeed. So, all right, here's my thoughts on this. First of all, I would like to learn more about this, especially when it comes time to hear about the story. And there's too much. Here's the thing. I felt that the AI art was overused. Nothing against the creator. It's just, I would maybe prefer, yes, maybe have AI art to maybe show like antiquity with the Romans, alive. But I would have preferred if there were artifacts, if there are, I would like to see them in their full, true entirety. I would like to see what they looked like, real examples. That's my nitpick of this. All in all, I think it's a fascinating story. So here's where you, the Americans Learn audience, can help us know more. Are there videos that actually show the artifacts and, professors giving their details of this? Because I would like to know. So let's make this a to be continued.